Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Recording in progress.
Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Gana
Jaya Jaya Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Gana
Shakti Deha Kore Yena Chaitanya Varnana
Shakti Deva Karena Chaitanya Varnana
Jaya Jaya Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Gana
Jaya Jaya Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Gana
Shakti Deha Kore Yena Chaitanya Varnana
Shakti Deva Karena Chaitanya Varnana
Om Ajnanatirmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatdeshatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we have been discussing chapter 7 of the Adi Lila, and we have covered a little more than 2/3 of the verses. And this chapter is very, very unique in the sense that Srila Prabhupada has written purports to almost every verse in this chapter. Whereas you'll see in other chapters that he doesn't comment on every verse as extensively as he's done in this chapter. In fact, I was just hearing one class, and the devotee was giving the class. He said that for chapter 7 they had more than 700 slides. And it was more than the number of slides. It was almost the same number of slides that they had for the entire Tattva Sandarbha by Jiva Goswami. So he was saying that how many, like philosophical points Srila Prabhupada has been discussing in his purports, and of course what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself discussed, Kaviraj Goswami himself gives. So there's a lot of very, very relevant philosophical points for all of us to learn. So this chapter, I'll give you a quick overview again, so that we weren't here together last week, so it's been like 2 weeks of break. So this chapter, how did it start? Let's do it together. Why only put the burden on the speaker? No? So how does this chapter start? कुछ भी तुक्का लगा दो कुछ, हाँ? Okay, before that, What does Krishna Das Kaviraj do? Identity of the Panchatattva. This chapter's title is what? Lord Chaitanya and 5 features. We say Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vigyan.
That there is no difference between these 5.
Okay. And we studied how many before? And what about the identity of Srivas Thakur? The glories of a devotee, where did we study that? How glorious a devotee's position is, where did we study that?
Last part.
Yeah, chapter 6.
Yes.
Okay. And the glories of Srimati Radharani, where did we study that? Chapter 4. Right. So in this chapter he begins by sharing the identity, of all these 5 great personalities. He gives a quick recap and then he says that actually there's no difference between the 5 of them. Why? Why is there no difference?
Because someone is Shakti and someone is devotee.
Yeah, so they're
features of the Lord.
Yes, they're inseparable features of the Lord. So the Lord, His Prakash, His incarnations, His Antaranga Shakti, and not only just the Antaranga Shakti, the Ladini potency of His Antaranga Shakti, and then the Jiva Shakti, they're inseparable. So it's described in that Guru, Krishna Guru, Bhakta Shakti, Avatar Prakash. So, what is it? Krishna, Guru, Bhakta Shakti, Avatar Prakash, ei chhoi rupe Krishna Korena Vilas. Okay. So in these 6 forms, the Lord is eternally residing. These are His 6 main features. And the question is raised, okay, why 5? What about the 6th one? So where's the Guru Tattva in this? And what was the answer that I gave?
Radharani is the supreme. Nityananda Prabhu is also Guru Tattva, and then you said something about Radharani also.
Okay, so how many exemplify the Guru Tattva in these 5?
All.
Yeah, so all. Okay. You have any doubts that Lord Nityananda can be Guru, or Krishna can be Guru, or Advaitacharya is Guru? No. Advaitacharya is addressed as Guru by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, I accept you as my Guru. Because he is who? He is a god brother of Ishvara Puri. No, he's not the god brother. He's a god brother of Madhavendra Puri. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he accepts him as. Then what about Srivas Thakur? Is he qualified to be Guru?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, definitely. He's a pure devotee. If he is not Guru, then who is?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
In his narrow form, he is Guru of many.
And then who's left? Srimati Radharani. Is she Guru? Yes, definitely. She's the best devotee of Krishna. She's the Guru of all Gurus. She's even Krishna's Guru. Makes him dance. So then, what is their purpose? Why do they come? Why do these 5 personalities, they come in this form of devotees? What do they come for?
To teach us.
To give the love of God.
To give the love of Godhead. So how is it described? Like their activities, like what is something amazing that they end up doing?
They broke open the storehouse.
They broke open.
Storehouse of love of God.
So these 5 personalities, Pancha Mile Prithvi Te Ashiya, right? They have come to this world, and what are they going to do? They are going to break open, So they are going to break open the storehouse of love of Godhead. Hare Krishna, welcome. So this is very unique, this very unique description that Purva Preme Bhandarera Mudra Ugadiya. So they break open the lock on the storehouse of the love of God. And what do? They start stealing, they start tasting that love. They start experiencing that joy, that bliss. And in that blissful state, they begin to sing, they begin to dance, they're almost like mad with the love of God. And in that maddening mood, what do they start doing? Yeah, they start distributing. Just like we were discussing that someone, sometimes when people get intoxicated, they tend to become more liberal, more generous. Le lo, kya chahiye? Abhi check sign kar dunga. They may not have any money in the bank. I've seen my father do it, so I have very clear memories, how he would get into that mood and how people would take advantage of him. That those people who you never saw around, they would be around, when he was in that mood. So liberally they gave out, without considering what the social position. Yes. So, without any consideration, Je ja paye taha kore prema dan. So whoever they saw, wherever they saw, they distributed love of God. But even though they were so liberal and so many people got transformed, there were still certain categories of people who were avoiding Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And who were they? They were impersonalists, logicians, fruitive workers, atheists, blasphemers. So then, did that make Lord Chaitanya happy? He said, "ठीक है, इनको नहीं चाहिए, रहने दो इनको. Let them. Let's ignore them now. Let them, continue with their way of life and continue, to suffer." What was Lord Chaitanya's mood?
Everyone should go back to
So he was deeply concerned that these people are being left out. So what did he decide to do? Yeah, he decided to take sannyas at the age of 24 with a young wife and with no father, his mother also alone. He decided to take sannyas. And the whole purpose was what? Was it a selfish purpose? No, he wanted everyone, as many people as possible, to get connected with their Supreme Father. Even if it meant for him to sacrifice his family life, there was no need for him to take sannyas. He's a Supreme Personality of Godhead. What, does he need any purification? Does he need to show anyone to anyone anything? No, there's no need. And this also brings out, look at the compassion of the Supreme Personality, in the form of a devotee. At such a young age to give up, his family. And it is not like sannyas today, where you're so well taken care of. So many conveniences are there. Lord Chaitanya had to walk on foot when he went to South India from Jagannath Puri. Did he go on an airplane? No. He had to walk through the jungles with just one assistant he had. He didn't even want to take that assistant. But devotees insisted, that, at least take one assistant. He went to Vrindavan, he went to South India, and he stayed so simply in the Gambhira for like so many years, in just one small room. It's not that like he had a dining room hall, and he had a bedroom, and he had a kitchen. No, nothing. He had just one. I'm forgetting how much. It's 6 feet by 8 feet or something. That's all. Today you go to the Gambhira, it's a small room. He spent most of his sannyas life actually in that small room, experiencing ecstatic symptoms and love of Godhead, and demonstrating that what a life of surrender to God is. So he took sannyas, and then when he took sannyas, then what impact did it have on people? Did many get transformed? Yes, they started to respect him, because at that time sannyasis were respected, much more than what they are today. So through his sannyas, he was able to transform even more people, except there was one category got that left out. Mayavad sannyasis or Mayavadis. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, did he decide to ignore them? No, he decided that yes, let's deal with them. So on his way to Vrindavan, he went to Varanasi. It was the headquarters of the Mayavad sannyasis. So you have all these staunch Mayavad sannyasis over there. And here's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's dancing and chanting in ecstasy. And they look at him and say, what kind of a foolish sannyasi is this person? He's just a sentimentalist. He's forgotten what his real purpose and duty of sannyas is. He's a murkha sannyasi. He's forgotten his real dharma. And what is it, according to them, what is the dharma of a sannyasi? Is it to chant and dance? No. So Vedanta study, and what else? Another thing. Hare Krishna. Please come. So what according to them is the duty of a sannyasi? According to Mayavadis. You said one, studying the Vedas. And the second is meditation. So these are the two primary duties of a sannyasi according to the Mayavadis. And here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, he was singing, dancing with his associates. They were rolling on the ground, they were laughing, they were crying. Almost like, I think like, why, you become a sentimentalist. You've forgotten your real purpose of your sannyas. And you belong to the, our Bharati Sampradaya, you belong to our Sampradaya, and yet you don't associate with us, you associate with all these sentimental devotees. So they expressed their dissatisfaction to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they were actually very critical of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then the devotees who heard this criticism, they were extremely pained. And they told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have to do something, we cannot tolerate. Those devotees who were there, like Tapan Mishra Prabhu, and who else was there? Chandrasekhar Prabhu. They were deeply pained. And they told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you please do something. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, yes, I'm going to go to Vrindavan. When I come back, I will deal with the Mayavad sannyasis. So on his return, he comes back, he is invited by a Brahmin, to a sabha of all these sadhus in Varanasi, and prominent among them are obviously the Mayavad sannyasis. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he decides to attend that meeting, and he sits where all the sannyasis, they wash their feet. He takes a very humble position, and because he is the Supreme Personality, he has this effulgence emanating from him. So when the Mayavadis see him, when they see his effulgence, they're attracted to him. They're like, this is Narayan himself. And they go to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they take his hand, the leader, and they ask him to please come and sit with them. And then they raise their doubt to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you belong to our sampradaya, so why do you chant and dance like a sentimentalist, and why don't you study Vedanta? And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he shares this whole experience of how his spiritual master gave him this order to chant, and then he shares beautiful verses emphasizing why the chanting of is the most important process in the age of Kali. Do you remember any of those verses?
Krishna Avatar, Kali Kali, Naam Rupe Krishna Avatar. One was Hare Naam, Hare Naam.
Yes, one is Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam.
Naam Vinu Kali Kale,
Naam Vinu Koli Kale, Nahi Ar Dharma,
Sarva Mantra
Saranam, E Shastra Marma. And then he says, Krishna mantra hoite hobe samsara mochana. When you can be delivered from this bondage of this samsara chakra through this Krishna mantra. And then he continues to say that not only will you be delivered, Krishna nama hoite pabe Krishnera charana. So what will happen? You will also receive the personal association of the Supreme Lord. And then he describes that once he got this mantra and he started chanting, what did he start experiencing?
So many bodily symptoms.
He started to become crazy.
Yes.
He was so ecstatic. He started having all these ecstatic symptoms, and he started crying and dancing and laughing. And then he thought that this process is making him forget everything. He was losing his knowledge base. So then he went with his doubt to his spiritual master. He says, what kind of mantra have you given me? Oh Gosai, oh Guru Maharaj, kiba mantra dila. Gosai, kiba tar bal. What kind of strength is there in this mantra? Japite mantra, korilo pagol. It's made me mad. And how does his spiritual master respond?
This is the nature of the holy.
Yeah, he says, this is the nature of the holy name. Whoever chants the name without offenses, in a pure way, what do? They experience, love of God. And you are so fortunate, and I am so grateful to you that you have achieved the highest fruit of this chanting, which is prema, and you are experiencing the symptoms of prema. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, don't think that I am doing it on my own willingness, but the authority of this mantra and the power that is coming from the following the instructions of my Guru is making me dance and sing like a crazy man. So when we follow, the instructions of our Gurudev, right, our spiritual authorities, then there is a Shakti that takes over our practices. And that's why we see that all the devotees, they pray. Right? He's also praying. He's saying, Jaya Jaya Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktagan. He's praying to the devotees. Shakti Deha Koreyena Chaitanya Varnan. So, give me the strength, give me the potency, give me the Shakti by which I can describe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Ekaki amar nahi paye bala, Harinama sankirtane, tumi kripa kori, Shraddha bindu deha, deho Krishna nama dhane. So again, he's crying. He's saying, I don't have ekaki amar, I'm alone, and I don't have the strength to chant and follow this kind of process. And we all feel helpless sometimes, right? So difficult to keep our 16 rounds, especially those who are initiated, and even those who chant maybe 1 round or 2 rounds or 3 rounds. To do it consistently sometimes becomes such a big challenge. We don't seem to have the strength to do that. But where will we get the strength? Who's the source of that strength? Is it our own endeavor?
It's the magic of the book.
It is our endeavor to seek the mercy of the devotees, of Guru and Sadhu. And by praying to them, by seeking their mercy constantly, then we get the strength to continue. Sorry. कुछ किचन में Yes, so she's bringing. Thank you. So what happens when they hear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's experience? What happens to the Mayavati? Their heart is completely moved. But are they completely transformed? What do they want to know? They're still curious about something.
That's why he's not studying the Vedanta.
So he says, we really appreciate your being a devotee,
But still,
and you experiencing these wonderful symptoms. This is really wonderful. But we still can't understand why you don't study Vedanta. So if you don't mind, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I will explain something on the Vedanta. And they are so happy. They say like, yes, we know that whatever you say will be very pleasing and will be very good for us. They have that confidence in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by now, because he's won their hearts through his humility, his explanation of the Maha Mantra. He's won their hearts to a great degree, and now he's going to share something about the Vedanta, and that's what we have been discussing. So he started sharing in verse number 106. Yes. And we have reached now, we covered till 120. So do you all remember anything about any points in those 14, 15 verses?
Prabhuji Guruji, he explained about Prasthan prayer. That Prasthan prayer is...
So how does he start?
Somebody
Okay, no, how does he start?
Like,
He starts with saying, Vedanta is the word of whom?
Vedya.
They are the words of the Supreme Lord, compiled by Vyasadeva. Okay, and if they are the words of the Supreme Lord,
So they are free from the 4 defects.
yes, they're free from the 4 defects. And if we really want to understand Vedanta, how are we going to understand it?
By hearing
By hearing, okay, yes, obviously, but
from these.
from so how are we going to, how should we study the verses? Or how should we study the sutras? We have to study them according to their direct meaning. Okay? Mukhya vritti. Right?
Lakshana.
So, and there is Gauna vritti. There is direct and there is indirect. Okay, so you have to remember this, because this is, these points are very important. And what do the Mayavadis do? How do they study the sutras? So they derive indirect meanings. And what is the direct meaning? How do we know it's a direct meaning? Prabhupada shared in the purport that the direct meaning is like the word, like as it's described in a dictionary. If it says Kurukshetra,
Then it is Kurukshetra.
it's a name of a place.
Not the word.
Now if you say Kurukshetra is not actually Kurukshetra, but it is the body.
Pandavas are said.
So you're prescribing indirect meanings to that word. Just like the Pandavas. Pandavas are what?
They say 5 senses. We say Pandavas are son of Pandavas.
Yeah, so Pandavas, there's Arjun, there is Bhim, there is Yudhishthir. So they are personalities, there are 5 personalities. But some commentators, they will describe Pandavas as what? 5 senses. Because they think that, okay, Pandavas, mythology. They don't exist. So if you want to understand Vedanta, we have to understand according to the direct meaning. That's the proper way of studying Vedanta. Then so according to the direct meaning, what is the absolute truth, or what is Brahman?
Brahman is Bhagwan, is Supreme Personality of God.
So let's recite this verse 111. Okay, this is a verse that we should be very familiar with. Verse number 111. ब्रह्म शब्द मुख्य अर्थ कहे भगवान चित्त ऐश्वर्य परिपूर्ण अनुर्ध्व समान ब्रह्म शब्द मुख्य अर्थ कहे भगवान चित्त ऐश्वर्य परिपूर्ण अनुर्ध्व समान So Brahma Shabde, by the word Brahma, what does it mean? What is the real Mukhya Artha? Direct Artha is, direct meaning is Kahe Bhagavan. A person who possesses all the opulences in full, and he is full of Chit Aishwarya Paripurna, he is complete. There is no lacking. He is complete in all these opulences, in all these abilities, in all these potencies. And very importantly, there is no one equal nor greater than him. What an outstanding description in such a, just 2 lines, just few words. So this is the direct meaning, he says. But what did Shankaracharya do? What did he make? According to him, what is Brahma? What is the absolute truth? So he made him Nirakar. So he described the absolute truth as not something that is full of spiritual opulences, but something that's devoid of any quality, any potency. He's just this unvariegated, undifferentiated oneness. So no potencies, no abilities, no opulences, just pure oneness. So this is what, and he says, Shankaracharya said that when this Brahma, it takes a form, it is a transformation of the mode of goodness. So he says that these qualities that this Brahma displays is actually, these are material. So he describes, all the personalities, all these incarnations, they're all material. For him, they're all material. They're all transformations of the mode of goodness. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this is a serious offense towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To say, that the Supreme Person is material, and that they would be covered by Maya, by the 3 modes, by one of the modes, by Maya. That is a great offense towards the Supreme Personality. So he says in 115, he says, one who considers the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu to be made of material nature is the greatest offender to the lotus feet of the Lord. He says, Vishnu ninda ara nahi ihara upar. There is no greater offense than saying that, that God's, form is material. And then he explains in the last 4 verses that we discuss that what is the difference between the living entity, the Jiva, and the Supreme Personality. And how did he describe?
Lord is the blazing fire and we are just a spark.
Yeah, he gives this analogy that just that the living entity, the Jiva, and the Supreme Lord, they're one in quality, but they're different in quantity. So just like he gives an example that like a blazing fire, and then there's a little spark that's emanating out of the fire. So that spark it has the same quality of that fire, but in a very minute quantity. So that's how we are. We are part and parcels of the Lord, but we are tiny parts. We have the same pure spiritual nature as the Supreme Lord, which is full of bliss, which is eternal, which is full of knowledge. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. And so we are also part and parcels of that form. That's our nature. But we are tiny. We are Anu and God is Vibhu. So this distinction, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu makes it very clear, because this is another mistake that the Mayavadis do. What do? they equate the living entity with the Supreme Lord. That they are all one. And all this variety, all this differentiation that we see is all illusory. So we'll discuss that point. It will come that he gives the example of that how you mistake a rope for a snake. So he says actually we are mistaking this whole this whole creation and whole all these differences, these different living entities. It's all an illusion. The moment you get out of this illusion, everything is one. So we're mistaking, he gives this example that we're mistaking a rope for a snake. And when we stop mistaking that rope for a snake, then we are free. We are all Brahman. Okay. So our existence is not real, it is illusory. Whereas according to Vaishnava philosophy, is this existence real?
Real but temporary.
Yes, it's real but temporary. Okay. Okay. So now the whole recap is done for the whole 7th chapter till verse number 120. Is it making any sense? Huh? So some are here for the first time. So could you connect a little bit?
Yeah.
Or were you lost? Or did some of it make sense at least?
The way you explain it makes sense.
Okay.
Not for if I have read it on my own. So,
So should we move on? Huh? Yes, Prabhu.
Shankaracharya ji introduced this Mayavadi philosophy, and impersonalists, they are following it, right? So in a way they are not doing anything incorrect because they are following those instructions. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he gave the proper knowledge, but there is still a disconnect. But if Lord wants, actually this disconnect can be eliminated. So why it still exists? I mean, still we see these things happening.
So this free will always be there. And the Lord cannot force by any, if He wants, He can transform everyone. But He leaves us with that free will. And in this world you'll see always that there is the different varieties of people being attracted to different forms of the Lord. So He can't force that. He doesn't want to force it. Otherwise there will be no question of having a loving exchange with anyone. If He wants, right now He could transform everyone into pure devotees. He could transform everyone. He could deliver every soul in this planet and all the universes. He could do it like in an instant.
I agree, but the doubt that I have is that knowledge is actually not the right knowledge, right? They consider Lord to be, or the incarnations to be materialistic and under the mode of goodness, and then
Yes.
they consider God doesn't have any potencies, it is like void, right? So that philosophy in itself is incorrect. So I'm talking about...
So there's so many incorrect philosophies.
Yeah, but if Shankaracharya introduced this on the instructions of Lord,
Yes.
then later on Lord actually introduced the proper instructions, why the disconnect still exists is not... I'm
No,
not
because they are still ardent followers of Shankaracharya.
okay.
No.
But somewhere they...
And sometimes the followers of Shankaracharya, they are more, they take it to even a deeper level, an extreme level. So sometimes what happens that a teacher may teach something, and along with it, he may also give certain other teachings. Like Shankaracharya also gave some bona fide teachings. But they choose to take that, and they take that also to an extreme.
So they are only adopting partial...
Yeah, they are, yes. And this has been further clarified by so many acharyas throughout, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vallabhacharya, they've all, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so many different acharyas, 6 Goswamis, Baladev Vidyabhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So many acharyas have written so much detailed commentary. But you can't expect that everyone will transform. So, okay.
In fact, Prabhuji, like in Sanatan, there were more than 90% followers are from that sex order.
So they got transformed, right?
So even now, impersonal philosophy is very much, it dominates the culture. But impersonal, impersonalism, like, so even if you see most of the commentaries on the Gita, they're impersonal commentaries. That, all this Mahabharata, all this is all fictional. This is all mythology. It didn't happen. There's no personality called Krishna. Krishna is just a representation of the divine. So many different interpretations. I mean, you read some of the interpretations, you'll be surprised to what extent they go, and give all these. They make up, and people are getting really expert at it. Deriving so many different meanings from, and giving so many so-called very interesting analogies and descriptions and interpretations. And some of their books are bestsellers. You go to the airports, you only see those books.
Yes,
You heard of Devdutt Patnaik? You read his books. I mean, you see them all over the airport. Like, my Gita. So at least he's honest. He says my Gita.
What were the conditions in which Shankaracharya delivered that philosophy?
Yeah, that time Buddhism had a strong hold.
So animal sacrifice.
Yeah, Buddhism, and also people had lost their faith in Vedic literature, because people were, on the pretext of the Vedas, they were, having all these animal sacrifices. So people were losing faith. So then Buddhism came. Buddhism also, pulled people away. It's all ahimsa and this and that. So that was attractive to the people. So now how to get back people to the Vedic literature? How to restore their faith because ultimately Shastra is the basis of our spirituality. And Vedic Shastras, they have everything that we need. They are kalpataru, right? They're like a desire. They have everything that we need.
So do Vedas say impersonalism?
No, there is. They're Brahmavadis. Like they are attracted to the impersonal feature of the Lord, but they don't say that the Lord's forms is it's material. But they are just attracted to the impersonal form. But the Mayavadis, they are offensive towards the form of the Lord, and they decry the form of the Lord. See, there are three. There's Bhagavan, there's Paramatma, and there is Brahman. So these are three bona fide features of the Lord, which are accepted by even devotees. The Brahman is worshipable because it is the effulgence of the Lord. We don't deny the Brahman. And we respect the Brahmavadis. They're attracted to the Lord's effulgence. So they are spiritualists, they're spiritual seekers, they're practitioners, but they're attracted to the impersonal, form of the Lord. And that is bona fide. That's a bona fide form of the Lord. And they're yogis, who are who want to attain different siddhis, and they are attracted to the Paramatma form of the Lord.
So in Vedas, mainly predominantly this impersonalism is there.
No, it's not that predominantly it's there. Yes, you could say yes. There is actually predominantly there's karma kand. Okay, you do this yagya, you do this, you do that, you get this benefit, you get that benefit. You'll elevate your next life. Because usually in Kali Yuga, that's the state. We're always looking for some material benefit, even when we practice spirituality. So that's why when Ved Vyas, he compiled all these literatures, yet he felt despondent. He felt that, something is amiss. I've given everything, but I haven't directly glorified the pastimes of the Lord. That's when he composed the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And in the Bhagavatam, he really goes all out to describe the personality of Godhead and His potencies, His pastimes, His incarnations, His exchanges with so many devotees. Such beautiful pastimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So this was the recap. What's the time now? It was more like 6:17 already. 1 second. So I'll stop this recording because make it a recap recording. Huh? We can also stop this.